I'm making this video to set a record straight, not just about potential accusations being made against me, but about myself. I want to be transparent about why I'm still here, the mistakes I've made, and the dangerous activity being performed by those who claim to seek the truth. First, I need to address my own history. I have a pattern of announcing that I'm leaving the community, playing the victim, and hurting or backstabbing those close to me. My history with Parlo is the clearest example of this. I cut ties with him multiple times, only to return, creating a toxic cycle. For context, back in September 2024, I attempted to resign as a thumbnail editor. While I described the stress of the environment, my failure here was my inability to stick to my decision. When Parlo asked for one last chance, I agreed on the condition that I wouldn't be dragged into further instability, but setting a boundary means nothing if you don't enforce it properly. Because in November 2024, when that cycle repeated and Parlo had a severe mental breakdown when his channel received a child safety strike, I didn't handle it with the grace or professionalism required. Instead of offering support or simply walking away, I acted on the assumption that our last chance agreement was broken. I became cold and insensitive, demanding payment while he was in a dark place. I justified this as business, but in reality, it was a lack of empathy. Then later in October 2025, I made a serious mistake where I accidentally filed an empty appeal for his channel's second strike, which cost him revenue because he couldn't upload for 14 days. And at the time, Parlo was unable to appeal the strike on his own due to his devices being confiscated and not having access to his main YouTube channel, so he relied on me to do the work since I had access to it. This time, I cut ties not to run away, but because I realized I was trying to fix the mistake by working out of persistent guilt rather than true accountability. I had to admit that staying in a dynamic where I felt as if I had to work for free to earn back trust was unhealthy and unsustainable for both of us. However, my behavior after leaving was unacceptable. On a live stream, I publicly accused Parlo of guilt tripping and coercion and leaked private DMs involving Gwamgo and Wagzillo. I was under the impression that people deserved to know when it happened, but that was a lie I told myself. In reality, I was putting peer pressure on others and violating their privacy just to validate my own side of the story. I addressed the events in November 2025 in my final accountability statement, where I discussed how I proposed vindictive contract terms and established my failure to act professionally when Parlo was ousted as an alleged scammer. I used this as an opportunity to further smear his reputation and frame my attacks on his character as self-preservation to distract from my own feelings. Now, in that document, I stated that I would leave this community permanently. However, a couple of weeks later, I retracted this statement yet again. But I realized that simply leaving is not accountability, it's running away. I have since reached out to Parlo on Discord privately to apologize for my actions and the way I treated him because of our bad history with each other and my hatred that followed. We have since resolved their issues and ended things on mutual terms. However, I realized that I cannot keep repeating the cycle. That is why I returned, not for drama, but to redeem myself through service to the community. My recent videos exposing Pyrocynical's gross negligence and the dangerous behavior of SE Animator were created to spread awareness and dissuade minors from their harmful influence. And then moving forward, I'll be treating this channel as a career. I will be managing this channel responsibly, not just for exposures, but for covering Roblox news and commentary in general without the toxicity of the past. To ensure I don't fall back into old habits, I will not be operating a public Discord server for my channel, and I will no longer operate a public Twitter account. I need to separate my personal life from my audience to stop this cycle for good. While I am taking accountability, I cannot stay silent while a large YouTuber named Gwamgo weaponizes my past to fabricate speculative and vindictive accusations to tarnish my reputation further. In Gwamgo's own Discord server, he claims I went on a live stream to backstab my friends and quote-unquote argue why office was a good thing. However, the chat logs and the original livestream transcript prove that I explicitly condemned Andrew Cuomo, someone who is known for his scandals, and that I was discussing the political nuance of why voters would vote for the other candidate based on their policies, not endorsing their character. And Gwamgo knows this. In private group chat messages, he initially admitted he was just trolling and joined to mess around. He only twisted this into a serious moral accusation later to smear my reputation. When I confronted him on this accusation, only then did he address where the conversation actually happened, and that is a private voice chat conversation, but claims that I spoke about how pedophiles in office aren't an issue if they have good policies. He then tried to force me to answer a fallacious binary yes or no question that attempts to obfuscate the nuance that explains what I was talking about. And that nuance comes from the exact quote Gwamgo's editor Arham recalled in their voice chat, where I stated that I would vote for a pedophile if they had good policy over someone who has bad policy. Now keep the word over in mind, because from this, you can already tell that I was making an argument about the lesser of two evils and the weight of policy impact, not an endorsement of someone's bad character. Now think of it like the surgeon analogy. One surgeon is a morally terrible person, but they are capable of doing the job and thus saves your life. The other surgeon is the kindest and nicest person you've ever met, but they are incompetent or accidentally unalives you on the operating table. My point was that in governance, bad policy harms millions of people, where the focus is on on tangible outcomes rather than an individual's personal flaws. You can disagree with this worldview, and that's fine, but it's a completely different story when Gwamgo tries to use a political and philosophical argument and weaponizes it, not to hold me accountable or have a good faith debate conversation challenging my opinion, but to make false accusations against me, and even worse, he threatens my future job opportunities. Not only that, he explicitly mentioned that he would spread this bad faith interpretation of my argument to make sure that I am socially ostracized and to permanently damage my ability to find employment and sustain a livelihood. I reported these threats to my local authorities to have an official record in case Gwamgo ever acts on these threats. Not because it's a petty Discord argument, but because Gwamgo has proven that he has virtually no boundaries when it comes to real life interference. And the proof of that is how he handled the Ultrahand situation. Now in this video, Gwamgo accused Ultrahands of lying about being arrested and potentially scamming viewers for donations. In Ultrahand's response video, he debunked this by showing he only received about $100 only after tax after an entire year, which is negligible for a YouTuber with 500,000 subscribers, and that he never asked for donations in his videos, but only enabled super thanks. Now the following exposes Gwamgo's lack of research or care about the situation, as in his own video, he included an excerpt of the transcript of Ultrahand's video where he explicitly stated that he's not doing this video for donations and the support he's been getting from the comments is already plenty. Yet Gwamgo ignored this and included overlaid text accusing him of begging behavior allegedly similar to Parlo. He effectively debunked his own accusation within the same frame. Now in Ultrahand's response video, in order to prove his innocence against Gwamgo's speculative accusations, he was forced to compromise his dignity and privacy, showing his living conditions, his medication, and his trash-filled room, even noting that doing so could reveal his location or identity to the people he knows in real life. To add on to this, Ultrahands posed a question, quote, "What can I do while I'm being harassed falsely of being a liar?" Even after Ultrahands proved he was deported at the cost of his own dignity and privacy, Gwamgo still wasn't satisfied. According to Ultrahand's community post, Gwamgo allegedly demanded receipts for flight info and stamps. When he didn't get them, he decided to email the Turkish police department to quote-unquote get their side of the story, with a couple of people pointing out the obvious. Why would Turkish authorities hand over private legal records to some random foreign YouTuber on the internet? The result of this is a waste of police time and resources on a non-criminal deportation story. By dragging real-world authorities into a YouTube argument, Gwamgo's essentially proved that he will escalate online drama into real-life harassment just to dismantle a target he dislikes, which goes back to why I contacted my local authorities about Gwamgo threatening my future job opportunities to ensure that I am protected in case he ever acts on these threats to affect my livelihood. This harmful pattern of prioritizing personal vendettas over community safety is most dangerous when it involves actual alleged grooming, which is what happened when Gwamgo first initiated these accusations against me and later escalated to harassment. Gwamgo knew about the alleged SE animator as early as the 1st of June 2025. We discussed the script with the information that I gave to him, and he acknowledged the NSFW renders and the 14-year-old victims that I discussed with him about. Yet for almost 2 months, he repeatedly delayed the video to work on other projects and ultimately ended up not doing it. Fast forward to December 2025, I released my video on SE animator to spread awareness to the community and dissuade a minor audience from being exposed to his content and behavior. Later on, in Gwamgo's Discord server, a user named Electro85 pointed out how there's one alleged still at large whom I've exposed, referring to SC Animator. Now here, Gwamgo was presented with 3 options as he was aware of this message. Option 1, he could have agreed, amplified the message, and helped warn the community about an alleged he knew was dangerous. Option number 2, he could have simply said nothing. However, this would contradict the fact that he agreed to work on the script and address the situation publicly, therefore essentially amounting to negligence. But Gwamgo chose option number 3, where he found his message as an opportunity to fuel his personal vendetta against me by making false and vindictive accusations on his Discord server. Not only does it show his harmful priorities, but by attempting to discredit the person exposing alleged this was a destructive move that could divert attention away from the case and actively does a disservice to both the victims and the community. Now with that being said, I'm not asking for forgiveness, nor am I asking you to forget my history. I earned my reputation through a pattern of toxicity, manipulation, and running away. But today, I am choosing to stand still and face it. I've taken the necessary steps to dismantle the cycle that made me who I was. No public Discord servers, no engagement on Twitter, and no more leaking private conversations to smear people. My current focus is on growing by choosing the path of being a YouTuber, pursuing this path as a career, and managing it responsibly without the toxicity I've exhibited in the past. I'm here to make videos and focus on what I do best. However, while I work to fix my own flaws, we cannot ignore the immediate danger posed by creators like Gwamgo. When given a choice between fulfilling his agreement to warn children about an alleged group or feeling a personal vendetta, he unfortunately chose the latter. And this is the same reckless mindset that led him to involve foreign police and waste their time and resources to harass someone who proved they were deported over an online YouTube drama. Overall, these decisions speak for themselves. I cannot control the actions of others, but I can control my own. So from now on, my platform will be dedicated to Roblox news and commentary. I'm not asking for your trust today, I'm simply here to earn it back, one video at a time. And with that being said, thank you all for watching this video.
do 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 do